Welcome to Episode 7 in the virtual field day series called Ears to the Ground, hosted by the Corn and Soil Health Project. As part of our participatory breeding project, we conduct on-farm strip trials to test organic corn varieties from university and private breeders in different environments. In this episode, graduate student Christopher Mujabi discusses farm management and the 2020 growing season with private breeder Stephen Gray of Gray Research Production, who is conducting a replicated strip trial for our project this year.
Thank you for hosting us. And the first question will be, could you provide a brief overview of what you're doing here in your field, in your farm in general?
Okay. Well, we do a variety of things here. We started out as a straight non-GMO conventional breeding program for corn, usually 108 to 112 day maturity. But now we have switched our corn to not just non-GMO, we're moving toward organic.
Okay.
So where we started with about 25% of our farm in organic, next year we'll be in transition or organic at 80%. So we're evaluating our genetics to see how they adapt into an organic setting and start testing them more in an organic setting to see how it performs in the marketplace. So corn breeding that adapts to that.
Okay. So what's your best crop rotation in your field?
So far on our organics, we are usually running 1 or 2 years of red clover,
Okay.
and then we run into our specialty corn. We don't do much organic soybeans at this point, so we're usually running 2 years of 1 or 2 years of red clover. It helps us with weed control, it helps build up the soil, and then we come back with a minimal till and plant our either seed corn or our corn trials.
Since you're under under transition right now from conventional to organic, I assume there is a huge problem with the weeds and fertility. So how do you manage that right now?
Management of weeds is our number one problem.
Okay.
So that's where we try to incorporate, we have a livestock operation, so we try to incorporate cover crops and red clover and things that we can cut and bale. So almost a huge percentage of our weed control happens before we plant in-season crop. We try to get a year or two of very good weed control, and then we try to do minimal till so that we don't bring up weeds that would be from years previous that would cause us problems. In transition, we still run soybeans in the first year, and that is our largest problem for weed control. But we're lucky to have a neighbor that has a weed zapper, and that is very advantageous for us.
Okay. This year has been really tough in general. But I was wondering, what was your major, issue this year?
I think our biggest issue that I experienced was the severe swings in weather,
Okay.
where things started out very, very advantageous early in the season. It was hard not to get committed to go very early.
Yeah.
And then we turn wet, and then we turn hot. So the weather always seems to be our number one issue.
So the last question really goes back to our varieties we sent you, because the idea of the project, basically we want to get farmers' feedback, which will help us to actually select the best hybrid based on this feedback. So according to you, what do you think was the best variety, and what stood out, and which traits did you were you looking at to select this variety?
This year, what stood out to me is that it looks like the fuller season hybrids look the best. I think that it was just, again, a matter of timing. But like you said, we've had strong windstorms, we've had strong rainstorms, we've had a small amount of hail, not enough to really do a lot of damage. And it seems like that all came in the earlier year development time, where the earlier hybrids got affected more than the later ones. So what I'm seeing is we're seeing better standability and not the advancement of some diseases in some of the fuller season hybrids right now.
Okay, so these are like the major traits you're looking at.
Right now, yes, yeah. And it's been a year where if something stands out this year, it really stands out.
Yeah.
Everything that was just probably average over the last few years really got hurt by the strong windstorms.